welcome back to my channel, Sweet Chef. This is Chef Dominique. Pi Day is coming up, which is 3/14, March 14th, and all the math people would appreciate this, I'm sure. But I wanted to make, you guessed it, a pie. I've made sweet potato pie in the past, but I've never made an ube pie. And ube is one of my mom's favorite things to eat. So I thought it would be cool to try to make it and replace the ube puree for sweet potato in one of my sweet potato pie recipes. And so let's see how that turns out. I cannot wait to try it. And of course, when my mom tries it, that will be the ultimate test. All right, here are the ingredients for our pie dough. It's fairly simple. I have 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. And then I like to use Plugra butter because it is very creamy. It's a European style butter. It has 82% fat, which is amazing for taste, and it's just very luxurious in your mouth. And I have shredded it or grated it. You can actually grate your butter. You freeze it and you grate it, and that way it's a little bit easier to cut into your flour. And then this is also salted, and that way we don't have to add extra salt. And then I have 4 tablespoons of ice cold water. So I stuck that in the refrigerator. That way it's nice and cold when you work with your fat. So here we have our fat, and we essentially want to mix it in with our flour. And since it is going to be used for the bottom part of our crust, we want to have smaller pieces of the fat throughout the flour. So if you were doing the top part of the crust, then that would be a pea-sized granule of fat. But we're going to try to do cornmeal size. And since we did grate the fat, it will be easier to get to that point, and you can handle the fat less with your warm hands, and it will remain cold. So almost there. As you can see, the pieces are getting smaller, and I'm just rubbing it with my hands quickly. If you do have warmer hands, you could use gloves, or you can chill your fat and then take it back out and work with it. You don't want to overdo it, or you will have a tough pie crust in the end. So we still want some flakiness, but the bottom crust, you want the granules to be smaller because we want it to be strong and hold our filling well. And when you cut it, you don't want it falling apart. So that is really the purpose of it. So it's looking really good. Just working and cutting in the fat just a little bit more. As you can see, the pieces are getting a lot smaller. And it just takes a few minutes to do. If your hands are warmer, you can use a bowl scraper as well, or a pastry cutter. And then this is essentially what it looks like at what we call the mealy stage. I'm just checking it a little bit more. And you'll see that it is cornmeal in texture and size. All right, so we have little smaller granules. This is the cornmeal size that we're looking for our bottom crust. You can make what is called a well, and that helps incorporate the ingredients, or you can just put your liquid on top. It's up to you. Some people like to do the well method because they feel like it mixes better. But I've added our nice cold water. I'm just going to knead it together. until your dough is formed. And you don't want to over knead it, so just make sure you do it just until everything comes together. We have our beautiful pie crust. And you're going to form it into a circle, just kind of a flat disc. That way it's easier to shape when you get to that point. And then we're going to let this rest in the refrigerator. We're going to cover it with plastic wrap, and then it will go in the refrigerator for at least an hour just to let the gluten strands relax. That way it's easier for us to roll out. And then while that's happening, we're going to go ahead and make our filling. So this is the product that I use, Lucia purple yam. The difference, there really is a difference between yams and sweet potatoes. Yams are starchier, and the flavor of ube does have a thicker, starchier flavor. It is not as sweet as sweet potatoes as well. And the flavoring I put in does have kind of a nutty flavor to it. It has kind of a hint of coconut, which usually goes hand in hand when you are making ube products. For the filling, I am actually going to be using my sweet potato pie recipe and substituting ube for the sweet potatoes. So ube is a very popular purple sweet potato. Some people say it's purple yam in the Philippines, and they make it for a lot of desserts. And so my mom, that's one of her favorite things is ube. As you can see, the purple color. I got this filling frozen from our local international store, and this is a product of the Philippines. And so you have 2 cups. As you can see, it's a little bit thicker than regular sweet potatoes. So the texture is a little bit different. And I've got 1/2 cup of melted butter. And then I've got 1/4 cup of white sugar, white granulated sugar, 1/2 cup of brown sugar, and then I added the 1 tablespoon of all-purpose flour to that. And then I've got 2 eggs, 1/2 cup of evaporated milk, and then I have 1 teaspoon of ube flavoring in place of vanilla. I'm just going to add that as well. We're going to whisk it all together. It's a deep purple color. Now you don't have to add the ube flavoring if you don't want. You could do vanilla, but it just enhances the flavor if you do, and the color as well. And then you set that to the side. And that way you can fill your pie crust when it's time. Another thing you can do while waiting is prepare your pie dish. You can use your pie tin, or you can use a bigger, this looks like a 9-inch, but 10-inch pie plate as well. That could work. I'm just spraying it with this pan spray that I like to use. It is mixed with flour, so it's got a nice release on it. So I have rolled it a little bit. I'm going to turn it slightly. And that way we kind of keep that slightly circular shape. Be easier to put it in the pie dish that way. So lift and turn, and that way it helps it not stick as well. rolling out so beautifully. To roll it to 1/8 to 1/4 inch thick. You take your pie plate and make sure that it is big enough. So we just want to roll it just slightly bigger. Just to make sure we have enough for our crust. And looks like it's ready. So to transfer to the pie plate, you want to just fold it in half. Get your pie plate, find the center, and you just place it in there with a little bit of overhang. And that's, we're going to go ahead and do the crust soon. So once it's in the pie plate, I'm going to make sure it's flush with the plate and you don't have any gaps. Okay. Just like that. Now we want to make our crust. So if you want the crust not to fall down, I've learned to kind of tuck that overhang underneath, and it makes a way better crust than just trimming it. I was always taught to just trim it on the edge, but this helps it not sink down and you have a nice crust. If you just kind of fold it and tuck it in. And then now we're ready to crimp the edges for some sort of design. The most basic technique for the crust is to crimp. You're going to have 2 fingers here and 1 finger here. So just 2 fingers, and you're going to push it in. And for some people it's difficult to do when they're first learning it, but once you get it, you'll get it. It's quite easy. And then you come back around like that, and your crust looks nice and ready. At this point, if you want to put it back in the fridge to chill, just to make sure that crust holds its shape, you can. So now we have our nice crimped edges, and we're going to add our filling, and our oven is ready as well. All right, here's our beautiful purple ube filling. And you just smooth it. So if this was my regular sweet potato pie filling, excuse me, it would be enough for 2 crusts. If I was just doing like the regular store-bought pie dough. But this one is enough for our 1. You can just smooth it. As you can see, it's a lot thicker than just regular sweet potato pie. And we are going to get that in the oven. So we've set it for about 325 degrees. Here is our lovely pie. So I'm going to check it after about 30 minutes just to see where it's at. And the reason why I do 325 is because this is considered a custard pie. You want to do a lower temperature, and that way the eggs can set and they don't curdle in there, and you have scrambled egg pie instead of a nice smooth pie. Our pie is out and it looks great. And I've sprinkled a little bit of flaked coconut in the center because coconut and ube, like I said before, go hand in hand. So I'm going to let it cool for a little bit, and then we are going to give it a taste. So I'm giving a little bit of feedback on the pie. This is what it looks like. It's smooth. It's not as sweet as sweet potato pie. Like I said, it's a little bit more on the starchy side, so more like a regular potato almost. I do taste the hint of coconut, and I think I like it with the flake coconut on the whole thing. It gives it like that extra flavor. I would like my pie a little bit on the sweeter side, and my mother, and actually my 3-year-old, absolutely loved it. And the pie crust was good too. Like I said, that's my favorite part. So all in all, I would say this pie was a success.
It's very delicious.
So I just want to say thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe to my channel if you have not had a chance to do that. And until the next time, happy baking.